1078 officer in need.
What's up, guys? It's Matt from the 1078 Project. Hey, if you're new to the organization, a little bit about us. The 1078 Project is a non-profit organization that's been founded and developed by law enforcement officers who have been involved in critical incidents and officer-involved shootings. Our goal at the 1078 Project is to provide mental, spiritual, and practical support to law enforcement officers as they navigate the difficult times surrounding an officer-involved shooting. With that being said, let's dive into today's episode, and I'll see you on the other side, boys. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. Today's guest is a current narcotics detective in Lincoln County and the founder of the Guild Fellowship. Today's guest is Justin Stewart. Big problem with getting an accurate number for law enforcement suicides is that the reporting just isn't great.
Yeah.
Like, there's a couple organizations that track it, but they're all self-reported organizations. So,
well, and you get the stuff where, it's the old academy, it was a cleaning accident.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they told you that in your academy or whatever about suicides and how people would cover it up.
Like, well, you lose benefits. Like, families lose benefits.
Yeah.
They don't get the same life insurance benefits. So, yeah, it's like one last salad to a dude that gave his whole existence to this career. I'm sure that a police department may say it was an accident or whatever else. But just the idea that they would just not talk about it. Like, the police department's not going to mention, hey, we just had this dude kill himself last week. Well, it doesn't make the police department look very well, and also doesn't make the police officers look all that well either. So they just don't talk about it. So It goes unreported.
And I suppose, too, there's a level of, respecting the family and, different things.
Well, that's the whole Blue Help thing. The Blue Help, the family has to release it, and the city has to release it.
I think that the majority of it, though, is just the practice of avoidance. It's not necessarily nefarious, is the point that I'm trying to get across.
I don't think it's nefarious either. I think people are just like, we don't want to. Why are we going to talk about this? Right. We'll just put it aside. We won't mention it. You won't mention it. You'll get to, move on with your grief journey, and we'll move on with ours. And, we'll just act like it didn't exist. And, suicide hits Kate and I's family pretty close. And it's a bad, it's just a transfer of grief to a bunch of other people. So as much as, the family just probably wants it to go away. You know what I mean? They just want to deal with it and try and move on with the rest of their life.
Are you familiar with chiropractic at all?
Like chiropractors? What do you mean? Not really. I've never went to one.
There's a big difference in chiropractic.
My wife's super familiar with chiropractors. She loves the chiropractor, but I've never went to one.
Does she go somewhere here?
Yeah, she's actually looking for a different place.
Oh, I'll have to give you some info, but
yeah.
But in the field of chiropractic, you've got a couple of different viewpoints, right? You got people who treat chiropractic as if it was just for pain. Like, oh, your neck hurts today, come in, I'll pop it, and then you can go back. Or you had a minor car accident or whatever, we'll crack your back, and you'll feel better and move on. And then there's true chiropractic. True chiropractic is about the alignment of the spine, right, for the nervous system. I might be butchering this explanation, but the idea of it is that
we're dumb cops.
Yeah.
Don't take anything we say too seriously. Yeah.
You made me look over my shoulder just now. But the whole thing is, the idea of it is that God designed you in such a way that your body will heal itself. And that since we know that the brain is traveling along all these pathways that move through the spine, and the nervous system, by the way, goes to different parts of the body through different parts of the spine. So this, the middle thoracic spine innervates the stomach and digestive area and whatnot. So when you have what's called subluxation, that's when your vertebrae are out. When you have subluxation, it will affect, and I can say this since I'm not a chiropractor, it will affect your acid reflux or your digestive tract and all this stuff, right? But the medical industry has gotten in the way of chiropractors being able to say that. And so they're not allowed to say that they treat these different things that medical doctors treat. So they have to say they treat subluxation. I think they're even getting away from saying subluxation as well. So you could come in with GERD symptoms, and you could take an x-ray and you could be like, okay, so I got all this GERD stuff going on. I got acid coming up in my throat, and I look in my x-ray and I can see very clearly that this specific vertebra, where I compare it to an anatomical chart, I can see that the nervous system goes from this vertebra to my organ that would affect the GERD, and clearly it's out of alignment with the rest of them. I get it adjusted, I feel relief, right? You don't have to be much more than a stupid cop to see that those two things equate.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I mean,
I just broke my back in high school, so like I'm always afraid
to
go to a chiropractor because I broke my back, and I'm like, I don't want anybody touching it.
So this is not an advertisement for chiropractic. To sort of bring that back around to my point, right, before the ADHD kicks in a little too much, and I take us further down another rabbit hole, the point is this. They can't say that they're treating GERD, right? But they will work on subluxation. And in the process of working on subluxation, you may find relief in all these other things. Mm. So in a similar way, the Guild is not fixing your PTSD and treating your mental health and doing all these things. We are helping you work on an area of your life that you feel you need to work on, because improvement in one area of your life is improvement in all areas of your life. And in the process of learning to live on mission and do this, okay, you very likely will experience relief from the symptoms. And it's the same thing for you. Although you may not be hands-on working with a client as a clinician, you are providing different experiences that they don't get without you. You're providing different perspectives that they don't get without you. You're providing different resources that they don't get without you. And through that process, they're able to shift perspective, however slight or great, depending on what their experience is and what they're prepared to do. And they are experiencing relief from suicidal ideation and all of the different things solely because you made an effort, however small it may feel at times compared to the grand picture of things, right? You have made them an effort to steer them back, regardless of religious belief, into that body state that naturally heals itself, because that's how God designed us to be.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just bizarre to me that it had to come through us, you know. That's the weirdest part. You know, it's just, I don't know, man. It's just like the fact that police departments and, you know, governmental agencies are just like, well, you're fine. Or here, use EAP and get a counselor that has never dealt with first responders or, you know, damaged their own practice, so now they're going through the EAP marketplace, or they are just getting into counseling and now you're going to be a client that they have, that, and you know, you're traumatizing your counselor. It just seems like it's just such a weird, it's just so terrible that as a community we've just failed ourselves so terribly. You know,
and so I agree. And I'll also, because I do agree. However, I want to throw another perspective in there of, because from talking to you, I feel like we're very similar in the way of, like, I don't understand, like, why is it that I would be in this situation? First of all, how did I ever become the police to begin with? And now I'm like, I teach at an academy, you know, this is one of those, I'm not trying to be braggadocious things, but I was never supposed to be a cop, and yet I've flown on an airplane armed. You know what I mean? Or I teach at academy, or I'm a defensive tactics instructor for our agency, or, you know, all these different leadership opportunities that I've been put in because of my passion for the job. And when I'm having the struggle of, like, what qualifies me to do the Guild, right? Well, really nothing but obedience. Willingness to be obedient to it is what qualifies me. Because the thing is we're nobodies, bro, really. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that offensively. Like,
no, I get it.
We're important, but in the grand scheme of things.
So is Peter. So is Paul.
100%. Yeah, that's exactly where I'm going. We're no ones, okay? Without God, we're no ones. And the thing is when we had the feeling, we raised our hands and did the old, send me, God, here I am. I'll do it. But we are far from the only people that have ever thought that this was needed. Mm-hmm. We're just the ones that said yes to it.
Yeah.
Because we're stupid enough to take that on too. Or smart enough.
Either way, yeah.
And
it depends on the day you ask me. Sometimes I feel like I'm stupid enough. Sometimes I feel like I'm smart enough. It depends on how the day went.
We're both blessed with women that are good enough to support us in what we're doing, because it certainly is not an easy thing to support. You know?
Yeah, my wife bears a lot of the responsibility in this whole thing, and
mine too. I'm trying to get better.
She's given away. She's a neonatal intensive care nurse. That's what she does. And
holy cow! Say that twice.
Yeah, I know, right? And she's cut back on her hours to be at home more, so I can take more time to do. So she sacrifices, more than anybody would ever know. And sometimes people see me on Instagram or they see me doing the podcast and they're like, "Oh, that guy seems like he really has it together." And it's like, no, I don't. I just have somebody behind me that kind of keeps me in check every so often and guides me in the right direction and holds me accountable when I need to be held accountable. And, without Kate being behind the scenes, none of this ever happens. I don't know. It's just the reality of it.
It's 100% the same for my wife. She's very, first of all, she's a doctor, so she's same thing. Important job. Your wife has a very important job. My wife has a very important job. It takes from things to support us. You know what I mean? Like, there's sacrifices there. And then on top of that, not even just with this, just the police work.
Yeah.
I feel like, and I'm interested to know your perspective on this. I feel like sometimes when I'm doing this work, I'm like, man, we're talking a lot about the negative of what occurs, and that's necessary. We have to do that. But it rings true. There's this dude in our group, we call him Irish Mark because he's from Ireland, and he immigrated to the States. And he comes from a place in Ireland where, one of his regrets is going to a bar and somebody asking him, "Are you Protestant or Catholic?" And he knew that he was in a bar where Catholics hung out. And so he said, "I'm Catholic." So he didn't get beat up. And this dude has legitimate remorse, regret, and grief for declaring himself Catholic, not Protestant. Right? And that's how intense his upbringing was in Christianity. And he's very, very resolved is the point. And when I was getting ready to do my first testimony at the church, I had written it out and I reached out to Mark, because Mark was a missionary. I mean, he's very well educated on Scripture, and he reads my testimony and he says, I'm not even going to try to do his accent, but you just imagine an Irish man, and he says, "Why are you glorifying the devil so much, mate?" I was like, "What?" And he's like, if it takes you an hour to give this testimony, 45 minutes of it will be declaring how successful the devil was at screwing up your life. And only 15 minutes of your testimony is glorifying God for what he did.
Mm-hmm.
And that little bit of feedback there made me go, wow. So we created this process. It's called macros. It's a whole thing. It's in depth, but part of it is for policies, right? What we believe. They say the solution to pollution is dilution. So we've created this thing where we program the subconscious mind, where you realize that you're having a thought. To use, kind of keep in the vein of what we were just saying, you're having a thought that sort of glorifies the devil. Let's consciously create 3 thoughts that dilute it, and spend some time in each one of those. That's why gratitude works.
Yeah, me and my therapist actually talked about this, because I've always been like that. I've always been if something bad happens, I'm always like, well, there's nothing I can do about it. And I try and think about and think, okay, well, what positive is going to come from this bad situation? And that's something since I've been a little kid. Since as far back as I can remember. And the only thing I can really attribute it to is I was really poor when I was young, and my mom would, like, the washing machine would break, and she'd, like, find a way to put it together. There was no way, like, and then she'd be like, wow, look at how great this is. Like, it's all fixed. And like, or the plumbing would break, and she'd spend 5 hours fixing it. And it was always just like nothing ever stopped her. She was just constantly grinding. It's the only thing I could really attribute to, like, this part of me, like, where it all came from. But I have that through and through. Like, I almost to the point, like, sometimes I struggle to be, like, empathetic to people that, like, my wife, like, who may stay, like, focused on a bad thing a lot longer than me. Like, I almost struggle to have empathy because I'm like, it's all right. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. Get over it. Let's move on. Mm-hmm. You know, like, that's just who I am as a person. Like, I've always been like that. Just
that's why you're in this project, right? That's why
Probably.
You're somebody. I mean, really, that's why that's why you're qualified to be somebody to put your hand up and say. And I know you know this stuff. It just seems responsible to share that it's like, that's exactly why you should be doing what you're doing, and why I'm doing what I'm doing and should be doing that in those moments of, like, oh, geez, you know, it's like, well, yeah, you know why? Because I'm willing to look at things in a way that, you know, where is the goodness in this? You know, what is the thing? You know, they say
that's how you develop post-traumatic growth too.
Yeah, so there's a thing they say for debriefing. They say don't silver line it. And it was frustrating for me at first because I'm like, because we're really in the guild, we're really like, we work against that victim mindset.
Yeah, it's the worst thing ever.
Yeah, victim is a verb. It's not a noun. It's a thing we experience, a thing we do, a choice we make, but it's not an identity, you know? And so we work against that. So the debriefing space for me going in, because I'm a performance coach consultant. That's what I like. You know, like, I like to get with executive level people that are playing, like, way above me and be like, yeah, but this. And then, you know, I love those conversations. It really, that's why I like interviews so much. I really love the process of sort of like wielding minds, you know, and not in like it is manipulative in the sense of that, like, manipulation by definition, but not in a, like, controlling, tyrannical kind of way.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
But I love the process of, you know, expanding minds and different things like that. And so coming from that area to get into debriefing where you're getting used to like, allowing people the space they're in is hard for me.
Yeah.
You know, and so now it's gotten easier with some practice. But early on, they're like, don't silver line it, don't silver line it, don't silver line it. And I'm like, do silver line it. These people need to be looking at what the goodness that can come from this so they can focus on something better. And that's when I learned. Hard
and fast rules aren't good for anybody.
Yeah.
You know, because, like, people kept telling me after my stuff was like, I'm sorry. And there was nothing. You don't have to be sorry.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm a policeman. I knew that there's a likelihood that this would happen. Stop saying sorry to me. Yeah. Because it just forces that, like, victim mindset. It's like,
well, because it's not
you're
about
a victim
you, really,
of this.
About
you're
them.
A victim of this. You're a victim of this. And it's like, I'm not a victim of any of this. Like, I chose this profession. Did something bad happen? Yes. If I could have controlled it for any other outcome than the outcome that happened, would I? Yes. But there's nothing that I could do that could have changed the outcome. I knew that there's a likelihood that something like this would happen in my career. I mentally prepared for that aspect of it over and over and over and over and over again. And I don't need you to be sorry to me.
Yeah.
I don't need you to say sorry to me. I don't need you to feel bad for me. I don't need any of your sympathies. Let's pick ourselves up. Let's find something positive to do about this. Let's find the shortcomings and let's fix it.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, those apologies aren't about you. It's about them. They're feeling some type of way because of whatever, and they're needing to address that. And if they would approach you and just say, I am feeling this because of what happened to you, and I want to apologize to you for whatever, because that's my way of coping and also trying to allow you to realize that I care about you, it would make more sense. But it'd take too dang long to say that. So they just say, I'm sorry, and then you move on. You know, it's like, I know we talked about it before. It's like, so something happens, you know, and then in 2 to 4 weeks, it's over, you know, and people move on to the next thing, you know. They're back to trying to figure out who's going to win the voice. But you are still where you are, still trying to navigate. You know, all these people that come, and this is not me attacking people, but, you know, you get a lot of people that show up and they're like Sherpas. You know what I mean? And then there's actually another group called Fearless Unite. They work with women, and they're starting a thing, and they're calling the people that are shepherding people Sherpas, I believe. If I got that wrong, I'm sorry. But they're a great organization. But you know what a Sherpa is?
Like the people that like help people carry stuff up a mountain?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And so like something happens, you know, to one of us, and then all these Sherpas come around, you know, and they're like hanging around for that little bit, and they're like, oh, here's how you navigate, and here's how you tie your pack, and you carry it like this, and let me get that for you, and this, and then they go, you know, and they take all the help with them a lot of times. But they also take the map sometimes. You know, all the people with the tools and the skills you're going to leave with.
Yeah.
And then they leave, and you go back to quote unquote normal life, and you don't have any of the stuff you were promised.
Yeah.
Right? How does that happen?
Yeah, Kevin Donaldson's the guy we had on the podcast. He has his own podcast. He's from New Jersey, and said if you're going to be involved in this mental health world, you're going to have to be willing to get dirty. And I take that as, you know, a dude called me at 2:30 in the morning. Hey, bro, I'm not doing good. I need you here. And it sucked because it was 2:30 in the morning, to be 100% honest. And I was actually working. But I was there. You know, like, I was like, hey, I got to go do this. And that's what I think he means by, like, you have to be willing to be dirty. And that I think there's a couple of things that I think separate successful organizations that are trying to actually impact, like have long-term impacts in people's lives. One, I think, is just being proactive and not forcing dudes to come to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you go out, you seek those guys that need help, rather than, you know, in our world, they're like, well, if you need something, call these people. If you need something, call these people. And nobody ever comes to you. That was important to me that 1078 took a proactive approach. We hear about a shooting, we go to you. You don't have to worry about anything. We're coming to you. We're going to give you everything. Literally, you need anything, call this phone number. You'll get everything you need. Like, they'll walk you through step by step. And then the other thing is that we're not here just to we're trying to build an everlasting community. Like, this isn't some fly-by-night thing. You don't.
Yeah.
1078 doesn't interact with you once and then we're done and it's over with and you don't ever see me again. You don't ever, you know, I change my number and you never hear from Matt again. It's like, if you call, somebody will answer and we will walk you through this entire process all over again if we have to. And if that doesn't work and it's 3 years down the road and then you need it again, we'll walk you through this whole process again. You know, like. Sorry to interrupt the episode, but we got some big, exciting things happening with 1078. As you guys know, we sell merch, and that's been going pretty well. We decided to drop 2 more T-shirts, one of which I think you guys will think is hilarious. Head over to the website, www.1078project.com. Click the merch button. It will take you to our merch store, where you can purchase a shirt. Just so you guys know, all the proceeds from those shirts, all the profits from those shirts are getting donated back to the nonprofit, and it's a way for us to continue to do the work that we have been doing. Also, we have big news as well. We're having a trivia night. It's on 9/20. If you're looking to attend the trivia night, again, go to the website, www.1078project.com. Go to the events tab, and you can register. All the information that you'll need is there. Guys, this is a really big deal to us. This is the way that we fund all of our operations. If you're a business, you're looking to sponsor the trivia night, again, you can reach out to us, or you can go to the website, to the event tab. All of our contact information will be on there. hit us up. We'd love to have your support. We've also loved to have you guys at the trivia night. I'll stop talking so we can get back to the episode. Sometimes it seems like a lot of the resources out there are just disingenuous.
Yeah, so with the guild, originally we had a very different, it was like we were going to create, before we went the nonprofit route, we were going to create like a men's group, and it was going to be, pay by dues, and we did that for a while, and it just never, I was always looking for a way, like, and we discussed it, no matter what you do, any pursuit, a mentor told me once, hey man, if you don't make any money from the guild and you do it full time and your wife gets hurt, does the guild continue? And I was like, ugh, no, I guess it can't, or it can't at the capacity it's going, right? And so you agree then that you have to make a serious income. And the more income that you're able to make righteously, the more you can reach. And it was like, it still to this day makes me very uneasy, because I'm a mission before the money type of dude. I really couldn't care about money any less than I do, outside of that I have things that I like to do, like travel and eat good steak, But, so he's talking about that, and then it was like, so do you feel you deserve money? It's like, well, no, I'm doing this and whatever and da-da-da. So then he's like, okay, so if you don't deserve money, does God deserve money? Like, if you could make $1 million and give it to kingdom work, is that what you do? Yeah. It's like, well, that's what you're doing. You're just not doing it because you're making all these excuses. And I was like, whoa, so he laid it on me. So then it became very much about, like, how do we create a system that by the time any money touches anyone's pockets, it's already done so much good. Like, it can be undeniably true that we're serving people, right, first. And so that's where we came up with this thing, like, well, we're going to be a nonprofit. We'll utilize grants. We'll actually give some of our lessons. We'll teach at companies. So we'll go to companies and teach these courses for a fee, and then we'll take the money from that and pay for scholarships for what it should be worth for people to go through our programs. And then after we've taught here, paid for a scholarship, then it goes to the instructors and whatever. So we'll actually eventually be able to hire from our alumni. So if you're a first responder or a veteran that's gone through the program and you've developed some skill sets, we'll create certifications, and you can go and be an instructor and make $100 an hour to go teach, or whatever. So we're constantly worried about or concerned with growing the organization in a way that it's always people first and always growing people. And so from that, we've created this network of, when you come through stations, you will have the opportunity to come back as cadre, which I keep saying that term. I'm sure you're familiar with it. Yeah. Okay. So if you're listening and you're not, it just means leadership, basically. So once you go through stations, you can come back as cadre, and you will help lead these men through their process. And the interesting thing about that is, when you do, at every stations, every cadre there finds something in one of the men or multiple that they're like, that was me. And so you get to sort of see your old self reflected back to you.
That's interesting.
And you see your growth, and you kind of work with them there. So then after that process, you get put in, we utilize WhatsApp, and you get put in a network. And so what we do now is, there's no dues. It never costs you a dime if you don't want it to, right? You come through the program, you get in the network, and now we've created this peer support network that is built of alumni to the group who have chosen to stay around the group, who are living, like I said, to the ethos and attempting to live on mission and whatnot. So at any given point, one of the men can jump on and be like, I need prayer, or I need advice, or my car broke down. We've seen this. Like, guys like, dude, my car broke down. I've personally done it. My car broke down and whatever, and one of the guys in the group's like, cool, goes over his house and drops him off a Jeep. He's like, here, you can drive this to work. Or, another guy in the group did it, and I had a second car because I had gotten a take-home, and I don't drive that much, you know what I mean, just to and from work mostly. So I was like, take my car for a while. My brother-in-law, my wife and I are in Branson for Christmas. My brother-in-law takes his son skateboarding, goes up a ramp, breaks his ankle, snaps both bones, dislocates it fully. It's literally together by meat and skin.
Yuck.
And he's in the hospital. Not equipped for the hospital, by the way. Doesn't know what to do. Great dude, super handy. Not ready to deal with hospital staff, right? So I call a good friend of mine, Adam, he's a firefighter. He was an emergency management director. He's got all this knowledge, right? And he's close to the family. Tell him what's up. He's like, cool. This is like right after Christmas, like a few days after. Dude drops his phone, gets in his car, drives straight up to the hospital, and sits with my brother-in-law for hours till my sister-in-law can get out of what she was doing because she trained service animals and now is like working with cop dogs and stuff like that with dogs on duty. So she was probably doing a track or whatever she was doing, couldn't answer her phone. And this dude just goes and does it. That's the kind of network that we've built there. Where
You mean living in community makes a difference?
Yeah.
Wow.
So let me tell you the difference it makes. So we collect data on the people that go through. We have all these assessments. We've got a sector wheel assessment, which is like a smaller level of satisfaction mentally, physically, and spiritually, which, by the way, anytime somebody feels image of God, low satisfaction, they also feel image of self, low satisfaction. Mm-hmm. It's a strange thing that occurs. Then we go into what we call the total self-assessment, which is like several hundred questions. Each question can score so many points. There's a total point system, and then your peers, a group of your peers, go through that whole assessment in their group, and they assess you. And then your score is averaged, and you're able to select priority areas. And that's everything from, do you treat your wife with devotion? Do you have dandruff? I mean, it is like we're adding questions to it all the time. It's truly like the total self. All of it. And then you get these priority areas to work on. You set your goals with that, et cetera. Then we have the pre-stations assessment, the post-stations assessment, and the 6-month assessment. And that covers things like, how on mission do you feel your life is? How purposeful do you feel your life is? What's the quality of your thoughts? All these different things. And we see improvements immediately following stations in the 400 percentile. It's like when we got the numbers back, my guy that did them, he gave me the report, and I was like, bro, you messed the math up somewhere. Like 400% is crazy. That's like people are going to be like, you're lying. This has to be, whatever. So I'm like the control freak. I'm like, send me all the numbers. I got to do it myself. Clearly you can't do it. Not quite that rude. But so he's like, all right, bro. So he sends it to me, and I'm like, I'll be damned. We're in the 400%. So then you get to the 6-month after, and you start to see it drop into like the middle 200%, right? Which makes total sense. Still improved. Because you're right after the event. You're going to be a little rah-rah still, But here's the catch. We will get certain people that will be the same, if not worse, in their assessment than their pre-stations assessment. And we're like, what's up with that? And so we went through and we're like, what question we don't have on this? Are you still actively involved in the community? And so we added the question, we went back through all those things, and we checked all those dudes. Every single guy that dropped all the way down was no longer engaged in the guild's network. Mm-hmm. Had stopped coming to serve other men, had stopped coming to events to hang out, had stopped participating in fellowship nights when we have them, and they were shoom. And that's data-driven results. That's the truth.
Yeah, isolation, man.
Yeah, 30-plus men served through immersion camps in the last couple of years with a 70-something% first responder or military involvement. Yeah. Higher than that if you include family of, because we serve civilian as well. We like to mix in civilian men who want to live on mission because we find that the alternative perspective is therapeutic. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's a big thing, like you said.
It's also something that, like, specifically men aren't very good at. Women are better at being in community than men are. Men suck at being in community.
Yeah.
Like, my buddy runs Dad Tired. I don't know if you know what that podcast is, but
Mm-mm.
if you haven't ever listened to it, it's a great podcast. And the dude that runs it, Jared,
What's his name?
he's legit. Jared Lopes. He lives in South Carolina.
I feel like I've heard that before.
He's legit,
like,
man.
or of him before.
He's legit. He's super legit. The guy's like one of the only, I don't want to call him a Christian influencer because that almost seems ignorant to call him that, but that's what he is. You know, he's like has a podcast, travels the country doing speaking engagements. His biggest thing is trying to build community for men. And like he really dives into like why community is important and why men struggle when they're not living in community. And he's created like a nationwide community where you can go on the Dad Tired app right now and click like find a meeting near me. And in Missouri, there's a meeting for Dad Tired guys all getting together. And obviously, you know, it's not for everyone. It's a faith-based thing.
Sure.
But the idea that we're not meant to live alone. You know what I mean? We're not meant to try and walk this walk on our own, and it's important that we're surrounded by other men that can hold us accountable, that can lift us up when we need to be lifted up, that could guide us through situations that, you know, we want or that we need help in. Like, we started a Signal page, and there's guys on there that have been in shootings 8 years ago, 7 years ago, and guys that have been in shootings 2 months ago. You know, and like, you have a question about something that's going on, you can ask it on Signal, or you can reach out to one of the dudes individually, and you guys can go meet up and, you know, have a coffee together, hit the gym together, and kind of work through that problem together. But it's important that we're surrounded by other men that we can be ourselves with, but that comes along with being vulnerable. And I think that's why women are so much better at community than men are, because we suck at being vulnerable and being honest and open. You know, we all are putting on a persona. Everybody wants to be alpha in the room 95% of the time.
Yeah. And that's, you know, I think part of it too is onboarding men to see that, like, it's about proactiveness, you know. Like in our WhatsApp, we'll have weeks of radio silence, you know, and then suddenly somebody will pop on and be like, hey, this just occurred and I could use whatever. And then it's like, bing, 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 bing. And to me, I'm like, as long as we're seeing that, we're good. I'll pop on every now and then and just say, hey, if you've been radio silent for a little while, you know, it might be good for you to jump in, make a message, check in with us, you know, whatever, so we know that things are good. And if you've been considering doing it and you've been avoiding it, it's probably time to start up again, you know. But mostly we just sort of lean into the fact that it's like we might have 1,000 men in this group at some point, and we still might have a week or two solid of radio silence. And that's all right. Because what we're not trying to do is overbear you with or overwhelm you with like commitment. You need to check in here every day or, you know, whatever, because it won't last. It's not sustainable, right? It's more about knowing that there is this alumni group of peers that support each other, you know, that some of them can get peer support training and go out and help us in our external, you know, efforts. But this exists. I know that at any given moment, I can type a little message in the WhatsApp, and it is the equivalent of looking at a map. I'm going to look down at the map and go, where am I? All right, I need to check in with the guys.
Yeah.
You know? And we're good.
Yeah.
And it's just knowing that's there is so big for people, you know?
Yeah. Dude, we could probably talk for hours. And I don't even know how long we've been talking. We could probably talk for another few
about
hours.
3 hours, it looks like, almost right now.
It happens, man. Sometimes we get in these chairs, and every time we do a podcast, like, I was like, how do you talk that much? I don't know. It's being in community, talking about things that matter to me. It's easy. But how do people find out about the Guild? Where can they go? Where can they get information about the Guild? How can they follow along with what you guys are doing?
So we have a Facebook page, just the Guild Men's Fellowship, and then we have a website, which is guildfellowship.com. That has pretty much everything that we have up there. We have an Instagram as well that you can follow. We're getting ready to get a TikTok because you generate so many things. But I did tell my mentor I refuse to be a TikTok cop, so he's going to have to come up with some better solutions for Reels. So I don't know what that looks like yet, but we'll be doing that. So look out for that. Give that a follow. We have a podcast called Guild Fellows Podcast, which is on Spotify. You can check that out. If you do, some ratings and a subscribe would really be helpful for us. And, I mean, that's pretty much it. You can reach us. All of that stuff is available through the website. I think the message that I'd really want to get across to people is there's really a couple of things that they can do to help us.
Mm-hmm.
Like all nonprofits, we need money and we need people, right? So if
I feel you.
Yeah. So if you are someone who has been considering taking some action in your life, and taking some steps, please understand this. The Guild is not about fixing broken people. It's not a place where the broken come. Some of the people that come to us might consider themselves broken, but this is not a place where you're like, oh, I don't feel broken, I don't belong there. That's not what it is.
Mm-hmm.
We tell people, if your life is going well and you resonate with the work that we do, please show up and go through stations, because we need you, because things are going well, right? You'll be a good influence on other people then. Please come, right? You're going to find something there, I promise you. Stations is immersive and it is intense. What it is not is one of these new age, better help men type situations where we put you on your back and pretend you signed up for buds while we scream at you for 4 days and then love on you on the last. That's not what we're doing there. If you go to our website, you'll see a lot of PT in the video, and that's really just because what are we going to film? We're not going to film people's private moments. So we are looking for a better way to do that. But I digress. The point is, if you're serious about taking an action step in your life and you are a veteran, a first responder, dispatch, corrections, anything related to works of service, family of, or just somebody who wants to serve something bigger than themselves, please reach out to us. We do one-on-one coaching. We do immersion camps. It doesn't cost you anything. It actually benefits us for you to go, right? Because we get to provide more services, which helps us to afford wages for people by justifying these grants and different things that we apply for. So that's the biggest way is to come through our process, learn what we do, embody it, etc. The other way that people can help is we're really, really looking for organizations and agencies that would like to hire us for some trainings. So we do a bunch of different mission mindset trainings, leadership trainings. We do self-care and resiliency, peer support, empathic communications. There's a bunch of trainings on our website. We also are doing cultural audits or cultural assessments and audits. So we'll come into a company and we'll take a full, and for an audit, we'll do a full investigative approach, right? And we'll look at the entire areas of the company that they think that need to be looked at. We'll find all these vulnerabilities, and then we'll create a report of solutions and different things, and we'll help consult through that. What's interesting about that is we go through what's called it's a grow guarantee. So essentially, we'll find out what your numbers are, where you are, and whatnot. We'll offer your solutions, and then when you grow from what we did, you'll pay a percentage of your growth. So it doesn't cost these companies anything up front for those big audits. Or they could choose an assessment, which is just a shorter thing and whatnot. But that's kind of just a quick breakdown of the things we do and what we're doing and how we raise the money for it. So if you can get involved and join, please do. If you can help us raise some money by giving us, leads for companies that might benefit from our services, then please do that. So,
awesome. Perfect, dude. It's a good plan.
Yeah, I think it helps me to feel like the money collection part of it is not sinful.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I
because
get you, dude. I feel
I
it.
really would just be like, here, man, I'll just give and give and give. I don't really care for the money side of things. That's just what I like to do. And yet it's a necessary evil. So gotta find a way to do it where it feels as righteous as it possibly can.
Yeah. Awesome, dude. We'll end it here. I appreciate your time.
I appreciate
Thanks
you,
for coming
brother.
on, dude.
It's an honor to be here, and thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it. Thanks for all your kind words today. Sometimes it's good to hear that, you know, I know that we have a lot of mutual contacts, and sometimes it's good to hear that those people maybe either talk high of 1078 or you've seen things change in them. That means a lot to me.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the whole goal. That's the whole reason why I do this thing. That's the sleepless nights. That's the, you know, operating on 3 hours of sleep. Hearing stuff like that makes it all worth it. So
yeah, brother. Like I said, truly grateful for what you're doing. I'm a huge supporter. You know, I talk about your group to people when, you know, whatnot. You're part of our network, and you know, I know this is the first time we've met in person, but we can definitely see the passion that you have for this is very, very clear, and I'm grateful to you for being obedient to God and doing this process and this project, and I look forward to some more collaborations.
yeah.
Because I think we can definitely serve each other's mission. So thank you again for having me here.
Thanks, dude. What's up, guys? Thanks for hanging in there. I appreciate you guys committing to this series. Just want to take a second to thank Stu for his time. Make sure you guys go and check out the Guild Fellowship. Give them a like, give them a follow. They're doing pretty good work. So make sure you support those guys. Again, go to 1078project.com, grab up your merch, register for your trivia night table. And until next week, boys, I'll see you on the other side.